Alright guys, are you ready? New day, new set of palettes. Let's go. Alright, so on top we have the ColourPop Give It To Me Straight palette. So this one looks like this. This is a really nice, more warm tone neutral palette. I do enjoy this one, so if I do use neutrals, I do like more warmer tone shades. And this one just kind of gives you that with not a lot of effort. So taking a look, this is a really nice ColourPop palette. If they still have this one available, I would definitely recommend it. ColourPop products are really nice and affordable, and I think they're really great quality. And then the next one that we have on top is a Too Faced palette. This is upside down. So this is the Life's a Festival palette. This is really super cutesy packaging. It's adorable. I bought this palette when I first started my job, which has been the best job of my life to date. So this kind of gives me a little bit of some feels for that. But the inside looks like this. So for Too Faced, this palette is pretty unique and creative. I mean, a lot of the times their palettes are going to be more neutral in tone, but you do have some like duochrome shades and some shimmers that has like a blue purpley shift to it right there. This one's also pretty and shifty. So you do just have like some pops of color, and you do have a few little neutrals here. Ultimately, I really love this palette. I'm glad that I bought it. I haven't used it in a long time, but it's never too late to break it back out. So I'm thrilled with this. So let's just go ahead and get this one out of the way because it's super reflective. This is a Revolution Makeup Soph X Revolution Extra Spice palette. So it has a super large mirror. The inside looks like this. And I feel like I don't even know if I've ever used this palette, to be honest. But I think I bought this at TJ Maxx possibly. And just looking at it, the color story gives you like a lot of fall vibes. At least it does for me. And I think that that's cool. But I've just come to find I'm not the biggest fan of Revolution makeup or their eyeshadows. So, but I feel like you can get a lot better formula of product from different brands in the same price range. Right, and then so next we have the ColourPop Yes Please palette. I only bought this because it was so raved about back when it was first released. This is a very warm tone palette. I mean, you have some reds and some yellows, some oranges, and then some warmer toned neutrals. This can definitely give you some great summer vibes, a lot of nice summer looks, and going into fall as well. But to be honest, it's not my most reached for palette. It's not even my most reached for ColourPop palette. But if you're into these types of colors, this color story, again, the quality is good and I would recommend it for that. Alright, so then I do have two like old palettes over here, these two little ones. This first one is a NYX 10 color eyeshadow palette. They sold these many moons ago. I have used one shade up. I have significant dips in a lot of the other shades. It is just very much a neutral palette. Again, neutral palettes are not my favorite, so I don't gravitate towards those too often. But when I did, like when I was in school and going through college, that's when I had this, to be honest. I used this a lot because nobody, like where I was at and stuff, didn't like colorful eyeshadow. So I had to resort to this a lot. NYX Shadows, I haven't bought one of their palettes in quite some time. So I don't know what their eyeshadow palettes are like these days, but I know back many years ago they used to be really good quality. This is from Stila. Again, this is super old. This is the Stila Adventurous and Aspen palette. And it's just got 4 eyeshadows and like a convertible color in there. I do have pan on some of the product in here, but you know what? I may put this in a project pan to try to get this used up because that's way old. I don't even really like it. I need to just move it out. Right, and then we have one of the Rimmel, the Magnifica Eyes. This is the Thunderstorm edition. I know Emily Noel did like a whole dedicated series to these palettes. Essentially, I think she did a video on each one of these palettes that were released. I don't know if this is something that they still sell, but this is the only one that I have, I think. And I got this one because it has some colors in there. So you have a yellow, you have a forest green, you have a purple, and a blue. So you can do quite a bit with this. It's very much like an earthy type of palette, and you get a lot of shades in these palettes. But again, Rimmel eyeshadows I feel like are just not the best quality that you can get. They're good for like a more wearable, colorful look, like an everyday type of look. I feel like these are going to give it to you, but they are affordable. And I think this is the only palettes that Rimmel has released, or at least the ones that I know of anyway. I knew I had another one of these. This is the e.l.f., like their bigger palettes. This is the Opposites Attract. This is my favorite one of these. And I know what you're thinking. How is this one your favorite one? Because it does not have a ton of color. You're right, it does not have a ton of color. There are a few colorful shades. Most of them are deeper in tone, but it has these nice, beautiful, warm neutrals in here. And some of these warmer neutrals they're kind of hard to find in the drugstore land and like cheaper brand land, however we want to describe that. So a lot of the times you're not going to get shades like this from more affordable brands. Usually their range in shades are not this good, just being honest. But this palette has that. This palette has the warm neutrals that you can't find in a lot of drugstore brands. And most of them are all matte. So, I mean, you have a lot of matte shades, but you do have a couple of shimmers in here. So you can get some completed looks. And this is what I would gravitate towards if I needed something more neutral, more everyday, but with some pops of color. And can do even a smoky eye. Now this thing I haven't used a lot, but this is the Sephora Pantone plus Pantone Universe like watercolor palette. This was like an OG pastel palette. One of these shades was like the color of the year that this palette released. Like I said, I have barely used it. And this palette is true to pastel eyeshadow quality. They're very light in tone. They do have to be built up and they work best under a white base. But this palette's okay. I mean, you get some pastel shades, so like a purple, a teal, some pinkier tones, like a little bit of a green and a yellow. But a lot of these, if not almost all of them, are super white based and light. And it's just, for me to reach for this palette, it just has to be, I just have to be in the mood for this, to be honest. This was really pretty. It didn't get a lot of hype when it released or anything like that, but I'm glad that I picked it up to have something a little bit different. Alright, so I'm getting into my smaller palettes now, at least for the most part here. So I do have a bunch of smaller palettes, so we'll get into some of these. This is like a little palette that you get from like the Dollar Tree or the Dollar General. There is no sticker on here anymore, so I literally have no idea what the name of it was or what the brand was that sold it, but that's where it comes from. And this is nothing special. I don't ever reach for it. Maybe I've used it once or twice, but the quality is not there and the pans are extremely tiny. So I would have been more bummed if the quality was excellent with these super tiny pans that you can barely get a brush into. So anywho, I'll eventually use this up, I suppose. Then I have this Smashbox Full Exposure mini palette. This was like, I feel like this was like the very first like little tiny mini palette I've ever bought. And so when I first got this, I was like super disappointed in the size. I mean, these pans are super small. This is why I never reached for this. The pans are so tiny, but also, I mean, Smashbox eyeshadow formula is literally not my favorite. I get annoyed every time I try to use Smashbox eyeshadows because their formula is not on point for me. But now their face products are superb. Their face products are like, Smashbox eyeshadows are not great. Alright, so what else do we have on? Okay, so this is on top. This is part of a Too Faced, or one of the Too Faced limited edition holiday sets. This set, you got multiple palettes and you stick them together and they make like a Christmas tree. This is like felt right here. The packaging is felt with some like gold glitter, like ornaments, I guess, on there. Cute, cute. I think only one of the palettes was like an eyeshadow palette, I think. If not, I should have another one coming up. But this is what it looks like here. So this is a very much neutral toned palette. You get 8 shades in here. Most of these shades are like more deeper, warmer in tone. I barely reached for this because I feel like I can barely pull a full eyeshadow look out of it. It is true in nature to Too Faced products. I mean eyeshadows, like, you know what I mean? The quality is there for these, but the color story does not blow me away. You know what I mean? So there is that guy. Alright, this right here is LA Colors Nude palette. Again, you can get a lot of LA Colors like at the Dollar Tree. And so I'm pretty sure this is where that is where this one has come from. Again, this is more like a warmer neutral palette with basically some purples in there. But look at this like taupey shade right here. This one's really pretty. That's the one, it's like a grayish taupe. That's the one that I use when the handful of times I've used this palette. And then I also like this one. So that's more of like a champagne. Those two shades with this one is like a highlight shade. Those 3 right there really set this palette off, and that's what I like about this palette, are these 3 shades right here. Right, and so here we have the OG Wet n Wild Comfort Zone palette. They have redone these palettes. They do still sell a Comfort Zone palette, but it does not look like this. This is the OG. Remember back when these red, blue, brown, shifty shades, you can't, duh, my finger's not even in frame. But you remember when these like red, blue, brown, shifty shades were like all the rage and super unique and popular? And everybody had to have the Wet n Wild Comfort Zone palette because it had this color in it. Yeah. Brings back memories, doesn't it? But this palette as a whole is really pretty. Like, it's got a black base shadow with gold glitter in there, which was like also a popular situation. This brow bone shade is like my favorite. Obviously, it's frosty. I actually do not have any of the new Wet n Wild palettes. I'd like to get some. I just have not done that yet. I know I'm super late on the game, but I'm afraid that they won't compare to these. Alright, so moving right along. This, again, was from like the Bad Habit website. This is the brand Face Candy. This is called the Tropics. I don't remember what palette this is supposed to mimic, but it looks like this. Again, it's a warm tone neutral with some like corally pinkish pops in here. Those are pretty. This is probably one of the better palettes that I got when I ordered some stuff from this website before it went down. This would be like one of the only ones I would recommend. Obviously, they're not in business anymore, so you can't buy anything from them. The packaging's really colorful and pretty though. And then this is the Maybelline Lemonade Craze palette. I didn't want this until after it was like limited edition and being sold out everywhere and you couldn't find it anywhere. I had to order this off of like somewhere in order to be able to get it, because it was limited edition and it was being super raved about on YouTube, and it was like unique for Maybelline, and it had some nice colors in there. It's a summertime vibe. I mean, it's got a yellow, that warmer pink, a light pink, this like shimmery bronzy. Can you see that? This one gives me life right here. Oh my god, why can I never get anything in frame? Okay, it's not a bad palette, but it's not the greatest thing either. I think, honestly, over these Maybelline palettes, I would rather have like ColourPop. And then the bad thing about this whole thing is, after I bought this, went out on a limb to try to find somewhere that still had it available. It's like, everybody that raved about it on YouTube and made me buy this, went around and did like an eyeshadow palette declutter and then decluttered this. And I was like, really? However, you know, it's nice, part of my collection. It's like the only Maybelline limited edition palette I have, and it's not like completely bad. Alright, 3 left. This is a hard candy palette. I did a YouTube video on this palette. Oh, like a decade ago, and it got a lot of views, but I'm not going to share that with you today because it's like a horrible video. But I still stand by this, that this palette reminds me of Christmas, and I really weirdly like it. Most hard candy products I've tried I don't like, but for some reason, I don't know what it is about this palette, but I just really like the quality of the shadows, and you can get a lot of looks out of this palette. It is like full shimmer palette, I am pretty sure. This was a nice one. This would have been the only one that I would have recommended from this little line back then. But I do hope to use this up sometime. This is bringing back a lot of memories for me. Alright, 2 left. What do we want to do next? All of my palettes have some weird, insignificant story. So, let's go with this one. This is a Tarte palette. This is the Rainforest of the Sea Volume 2. So I bought this palette, 1, because it was on sale, but for 2, I had that other round eyeshadow palette, and I was like, well, I didn't really care for that one. You know, maybe this one will be better. It's right up my alley. The theme of it speaks to me. I really love the water, the ocean. This has got like coral on it. It's pretty, whatever. I could go on and on, okay? But true to Tarte, you open it up, and again, it's just like, how many shades is in here? 8 little neutral shades. And they look like this. This is a cool tone palette though. So if you like cool tone neutrals, maybe you liked this. I'm not sure. But for me, again, I was just like, you know, this is kind of a disappointment. The colors are pretty. They perform good. But like, I don't reach for this because, once again, neutral eyeshadow looks are not my thing if I can help it. So this would get more use out of me if I had to wear everyday neutrally colors, but my job does not care what I look like as long as I show up to work. So that's great. And then this is the Huda Beauty Emerald Obsessions palette. I at one point in time wanted all of the Obsessions palettes, but then at the same time I kind of didn't. And this one was one of the ones that are just speaking to me the most. I remember wearing this a ton back when I was pregnant with my daughter to work all the time, and people would always ask me what it was, and it was this. This is not bad quality. I really, really like this palette. Now, apparently Huda Beauty Obsessions palettes are not all created equal, but this one I can vouch for sure. Here's some shimmers. Let's just do this one. There's that like khaki green matte. Yeah, this one's a good one. This one I can vouch for, get behind. I did all kinds of nice green looks and people were loving that at work back when I used it a ton. I haven't used it in quite a while, but maybe we'll do it again soon. Alright guys, when I say I lied, I lied. Apparently I have 2 more of these Rimmel eyeshadow palettes. So let's just go ahead and do those first because I just really didn't realize I had 2 more of these. This one is the Rimmel Magnify Eyes Rainbow Edition. One of these I got as a birthday or Christmas gift or something. I can't tell you which one it was because I don't really remember. This rainbow palette, I mean, it has all the shades of the rainbow, as you can tell. Now this rainbow palette would be ideal for someone who, I don't know, likes the idea of color, likes the idea of like a rainbow eye, but isn't too big on the bright and the bold, you know what I mean? This would be like a more subtle rainbow eyeshadow palette. Let me get a few swatches going for you and you'll be able to tell almost instantly what I mean. Oh, I hate these thin skinny pans. There's a pink on this finger. There's the green, the blue, and like the pink. So as you can see, these are very much muted, more white based shades, not as bright, not as vibrant as a lot of other rainbow palettes out on the market. So like I said, this would be ideal for those who want to try some colorful looks but doesn't want anything too in your face. And then here is this one. This is the Electric Violet Edition. This one still has the brush. So basically this is the purple one. I also think somebody said these are supposed to be kind of like a cheaper alternative dupe to like Urban Decay Naked palettes, which maybe. I do feel that they are, in comparison to those right off the bat, the eyeshadows are more subtle and not as bright and vivid, so, and they don't last as long, but they are a cheaper alternative. But I mean, here are some of the shades in this one. I really don't have anything to say about these. All right, this right here is another LA Colors little palette. This one is the the Smoky palette. If you look, it looks like almost all the shades are the same, but this one has a couple of nice shades in it as well. I feel like there's a couple of hidden gems in these little palettes. Like that one, this one, and they almost look almost identical. These 3 shades. Well, the first 2. But you can see the difference. But those are like 3 of the best shades in this palette. That black isn't bad either, but it's just kind of shimmery. I don't know, for $1, because you get these at the Dollar Tree. For $1, these are pretty nice eyeshadows, for real. So what I would prefer is if they sold some of these shades as singles. That I could get behind. So this is the Urban Decay Nocturnal Shadow Box. This is something that they sold, I don't know, quite a while ago. I used to love their old school shadow boxes. This one didn't really live up to those, but it's not a bad palette. Okay, these were like some of my favorite shades in this. Did I just run that across the same? I think some of these shadows are now in some of their other palettes, like their Naked palettes, I believe. So one of the shades is Fireball Lounge Riff. I like it. I got a lot of use out of it when I first bought it and highly enjoyed it. But it just wasn't as good as their older shadow boxes. All right, now we have some bigger palettes. Let's just do this one. This is the ColourPop Double Entendre palette. This one's really nice. This one doesn't get a lot of hype on YouTube, but it's really nice. This is more medium toned neutral eyeshadows. But I mean, also, my fingers at this point kind of look like they have frostbite from all these eyeshadows, but there we go. Once again, I mean, ColourPop has so many eyeshadow palettes and they release so many eyeshadow palettes that I am sure they have something that you're looking for, or at least close. They have a lot going on. I bought this at like Nordstrom Rack, I think, somewhere. This is the Too Faced Glitter Bomb palette. I literally bought this, one, for the packaging, because it's just a glitter palette. all the shades are glittery. Well, minus the white and the black. Those are basically supposed to be like your base shades, so you can put those on and then put the glitters on top or whatever. It was a mildly creative idea, but this palette ended up flopping. I mean, where do we want to go? Let's go right like this. These are soft. They're buttery. They're not like pressed glitters. They're more like intense shimmers, but they are pretty. Yeah, which is why I don't know why this palette flopped. I remember people saying like, they don't like glitters. They don't like glitters. These aren't even pressed glitters. These are just like extra shimmery eyeshadows. Alright, so next let's just, whoa, okay, I'm starting to get tongue-tied now. Next, let's just do this, the Urban Decay Vice palette. So this is one of the Vice palettes, and my favorite shades from this palette, one of them was called Grasshopper. I think it's this one. I mean, look at that. And then this one, Fireball again. See, I have Fireball in 2 palettes. But the Grasshopper shade, I would love, love, love to have that as a single eyeshadow. Alright, and then next, this is the Lorac Mega Pro 2. These are really great. I swear I wanted all of these, but I couldn't get them all. And I'm so, so sad about that still every time I think about it. But these are huge palettes from Lorac. Every eyeshadow in these palettes is amazing. You just have to, if you like specific color stories, you just have to get the one that has the color story for you. But I have not found a dud of an eyeshadow in this palette. Like, look at this shade. This one here. Prosecco. Prosecco. So soft, buttery, beautiful. This one, Olivine, or however you might say that, I don't know. Ooh, a nice champagne. Look at that. Here's Burlap on my pinky. Let's get one on this finger. What should we do? Let's do Ash. It's kind of like a gray tone shade. Beautiful. You know what? I may go on the Lorac website here soon and see if they still sell any of their Mega Pros. If they do, I'm going to get some. Alright, so this is my last little grouping before I get into the little few palettes that I have that I bought that I haven't used yet. Let's jump into these. I'm glad I'm almost done with this. So this first one is part of that Too Faced holiday set that I mentioned. So this one, it was like the base of the tree, as you can see. Opening this one up, this one's more colorful. I mean, it has like a little pretty looking green in it, some little shimmers. This was like a more cooler tone palette. And this is the one that I prefer over the other one. It's also got more shades in there. But it's still not my ultimate favorite palette of life or anything like that. But it was nice for like a little holiday set. At some point in time, I'll go ahead and get this used up. I always say that, but here we are. Alright, and then there's actually a lot of Too Faced. This is the Too Faced Chocolate Chip palette, one of those little mini palettes that they sold. Again, what's up with these mini palettes? You can barely get brushes in these shades. You have to use like your smaller brushes to get into these eyeshadows. This wasn't like a really bad palette or anything, but like it wasn't like super impressive either. I don't know. I think people that love like neutral shades though probably wouldn't have minded this as bad. Yeah, you can barely see the difference in colors on my fingers now. I need to clean these. I don't know. They could have done better with these. And then I have the Makeup Forever Artist Shadow Palette number 2. I got this one in particular because of the vibrant colors and like these 2 like champagne shades right here. I mean, this palette just spoke to me. Look at that. And then let's do like the blue and the hot pink. Look at that. Really nice palette. I mean, the colors are kind of all over the place in this color story. But I mean, if you're like really creative or you don't care to pull in other palettes, this is like amazing setup of eyeshadows right here. And I would definitely recommend this and or just Makeup Forever eyeshadows in general. Right, so now we're down to the last few big dogs here, I guess. Too Faced. Let's just do the Too Faced first. This is that other one from that limited, or that summer line or whatever they had. This is like the raspberry. Razzle Dazzle Berry Eyeshadow Palette. This is the more purpley option that they had. This one I prefer over the other one. I've gotten some really nice purple tone looks with this, to be honest. And again, I remember using this a lot back when I was pregnant with my daughter. This and that Huda Beauty Greens were like my go-to palettes. So the last of the Too Faced. So the last of the Too Faced is the Chocolate Bonbons palette. And out of these chocolate palettes from Too Faced, this one was like my favorite. Not only for the packaging and the shape of the pans and stuff like that, because that's cute too, but just the color story in general, what I really like about this. It's more cooler tone neutrals with a few pops of color. And then you have like my favorite like little shimmery shades going on right here. Yeah, this one was my favorite. I don't think they sell this anymore. But yeah. Alright, let's do Urban Decay, because here's some Naked palettes. Some of the OGs. And guess what? The Naked palettes are not my favorite thing from Urban Decay. They used to do way better palettes, way better color stories, more pigmented, vibrant shades. And then they started with these Naked palettes, and I feel like everything is more muted now. This is the Urban Decay Original Naked. They do not sell this one anymore. This was like the cult classic everyday neutral palette, which is why mine doesn't have a lot of love and looks great, because I'm not an everyday neutral person. But I bought the Naked palettes because I love Urban Decay still, but I just can't get with these Naked palettes really. And then this is the Naked 3. This one was a more like pink tone, cooler tone palette. This palette looks beautiful on so many people, and that's why I bought this. But it does not look like that on me. It does not look so beautiful and girly and all of that on me. It just looks like a mess, and I have a hard time creating more than like 2 looks from this palette because I feel like everything, it always looks the same. It drives me nuts. Alright, so again, the only Morphe palette that I own, this is the Jaclyn Hill palette, and contrary to popular belief, I feel like this is a really nice palette. To be honest, I got quite a bit of use out of this when I first bought it and was really impressed by it. I'm not even gonna lie. There's like a lot of warm neutral shades, some deeper shades, a few pops of color, which are like blues and purples, which I love. And I done so much with this palette, and I feel like the quality on this palette was pretty good. But I'm just not into like Morphe palettes in general, so I probably won't buy any others in the future, but this one was good. I have no issues with it. And so let's get into the palettes that I own that I have not used yet. This one is from Tarte. It's from their Sugar Rush line. This is the Star Chasers palette, and if we open it up, it looks like that. It's very pretty, a very nice like setup. I feel like it's cutesy, and I love stars. So I really do enjoy like the layout of the palette. I just haven't used it yet, but I hope that the quality of the shadows are nice. We'll see. And then I have the LA Girl, the Main Stage palette, which if you watch some smaller channels, people's done videos on this. People have done videos on this palette. I don't know what happened to mine. It looks like it's had an accident. But I have not used this yet, but the colors look pretty, and it just looks really great and up my alley. So I'll be excited to try this at some point in time. It's just not going to be today. And then I also have the ColourPop That's Taupe palette. I got this one because I love taupe eyeshadows as far as neutrals go, and this is like a full taupe eyeshadow palette 9-pan. If you take a look, I mean, the colors look really nice. I feel like you could do like a lot with this palette and be pleased with the outcome of your look. This is one of the little Fenty minis. This is number 9. People were going crazy for these for a hot second. I don't think I've seen any like reviews on these, but you get 6 shadows in each. That's what this one looks like. It's got a purple and a pink in there and some neutrals. So I'll have to try it and see how it goes. And then this is the Catrice, the Fresh Nude palette. I got this in the Catrice mystery bag. And again, it's just like a cooler toned, pinky toned neutral palette. These eyeshadows are really nice and soft, and they're lightweight. They're subtle shadows, so great for every day. And this could even be like a nice companion palette because you have a nice shade range here of like lighter shades and then like a more medium shades and like one kind of deeperish shade. And then lastly here I have the Bambi, the Flower palette from ColourPop. It's just a little purple palette. It looks like this. Nice and pretty purples. I say they work great. And this is just like a basic purple palette right here. Alright, so if you made it this far in this video, I congratulate you because I almost did not make it this far in this video. But these are all the eyeshadow palettes that I currently own. So if you did make it this far in this video, please give me a thumbs up because I almost feel like I need a nap now. But anyway, thank you for watching and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!